I want to say, hey, Leslie, I want to look you in the eyes and say, come here, give me a hug. You're great. Today's going to be a great day. Okay. We're going to accomplish everything we say we're going to accomplish today. And you know what? Nothing's going to stop us. Today is our day. We can and we will. Okay, against all odds. Now, listen to me, Leslie. That doesn't mean that this won't happen or that won't happen. What that means is we're not going to be shocked and we're not going to be shaking in our boots. We're moving this way today. Our PMA has told us today is going to be a great day and the altitude is high. So we're going right there. So get ready. Okay.
The hidden struggles of athletes. We're going to move into that. How much of your player's identity is tied to performance, and what does that do to them?
Wow, that's a big one. Well, I think nowadays, with everything being so real time uh, and so critically evaluated, and with everyone on social media highlighting all their accolades, our young people today feel more pressure than ever before, uh, primarily because they're comparing themselves in an unfair manner. They're looking at what the social media suggests who's who, and none of this stuff is validated and true or false. But they're looking at those things, and because that's the world they've grown up in, and the smartphone says it's smart, they think it's a smart idea to believe everything they see and hear. Well, that is a problem in itself because then it's tied to a validation as opposed to who they are as a person. Their production begins to speak to the inner person that they are, which is not the same at all.
No, not the same. That's very important. I just want to stay on that for a minute. They think their worth is tied to validation, not to who they are.
Yes,
I think
not to
that's
who they are.
yeah.
And that's a scary slippery slope, and I see it all the time because then they're forgetting about who they are and the great things they're going to accomplish and where they're going to go and how they're going to get it done. And instead, their focus shifts to a worry and a concern of who am I? Am I enough? Do I measure up? Or am I able to validate what I said I was going to do and when I was going to do it? Has the timeline elapsed me because so and so is already posted they're here, there, and I'm not quite there? What does that do to me mentally? What does that do to me as a person? Do I feel somewhat belittled, or do I feel as though I don't belong? It creates a lot of doubt. It creates a lot of hesitation. And so I think that we have to be really careful with our young people today when we really get into those topics. And that's why, I tell our young student athletes all the time, we are the game. And what I mean by that, you, the person that you are, okay, your body of work, okay, how you operate, things you control on a daily that we're taking account of to getting better as a person. Those are the things we're going to hang our hat on. And at the end of the day, the game is just the game. And those are just results. And kids will remember long, long after those games how you made them feel as a person, as opposed to how
Mm.
they made the stands feel to win that shot to take the game.
Can you say that again? They'll remember how you've seen them as a person rather than the score. How important it is for coach and for people to do that.
Yes, extremely important. And that's just it. And that's just something that we have to reiterate because, sometimes as adults, we're so hard set on this end result, which is the win or the loss. And those kids take that and they can't separate the two. And so they're now concerned with, the things that, they can't undo, which is a fixed statement and a fact of a scoreboard. But the reality is they're going to take with them for life how that coach made them feel. Okay, if that coach allowed that young person to feel as though they were the reason for the loss, um, that kid's of all the great games they may have had, they're gonna remember that one feeling because that coach allowed them to take that home, and that's a validation. That's a credibility thing. That's something all of a sudden should have been on the stage with just players' performance, but now it's tied to a personality or who they are as a person or what they're not capable of. And that's hard to get out of them to
Of
get
course.
them to the next. So coaches have a very, 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 very powerful stance when it comes to being able to be protective of our young people and how they perceive themselves, especially during these high school formidable years where their brains are still forming and their identity is still tied and shaped to how a coach presents it and tells them what they are and what they're going to be. And so that's something that I think the struggles are real there. I think the more coaches need to be more aware about how they're making their players feel, okay, as opposed to kind of what they're suggesting is the end all be all on the scoreboard.
Yes. Yes. Um, so what happens to a young person when they fail in front of everyone?
Say
When
that
they
again.
fail at whatever, not,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that moment of truth, we understand that there's always failure before success. But what the quality of an elite coach, what he would do is help that young man understand that that's not a failure. This is a lesson. See, sports allow us to have lessons in life. And so we're going to extract the things that maybe we didn't do so well, and we're going to attach that to a teaching mechanism. And then me as a coach, I'm going to own that for my player. Most mistakes are made in the teaching process before they get to the field. And so as a coach, I'm going to make sure that young man understands I didn't have you prepared to play. There's some things I could have done different, okay, to allow you to have the success on the field. Allow me to correct that in the meeting room, in the walkthrough. Allow me to correct that, and you continue to work and do your best. And I'm going to assure you that we're going to get better. We need more approaches and more ownership from coaches so that the credibility piece and the validation for what these kids can and cannot do don't fall solely on who they are as a person or what they're capable of doing or not capable of doing.
It takes so much emotional intelligence and energy and foresight to be able to accomplish all of that. I mean, do you have any suggestions for coaches who might be listening on how to develop some of those things that maybe, for whatever reason they haven't been able to in their lives?
Well, I think that with a lot of coaches, I think it just comes down to being coached up and educated. I do a 3 month series here with my coaches. We start in February, and we'll go through what we call coaching school. And inside of coaching school, I'll start with power versus authority, and what that looks like. We'll talk about player coach relationships and what that looks like. We'll dig deep into the social emotional connections that our coaches need and our kids need that ties together before we can get to teaching any type of schematic game plan. I think that's critical, and I think that's first and foremost if you want to have a successful relationship and a successful culture, and one that's truly bought into love, respect.
So I'm not aware of this. You have a program for anybody can join, or I'm not familiar. I don't know about
Yeah,
this.
so no, I created a curriculum myself, and I've shared it now. Matter of fact, I've just got back from Sacramento State where I shared it with their coaching staff this past weekend. But no, I've created a teaching mechanism that extensively teaches coaches how to be elite coaches and how to develop relationships and to monitor and structure their leadership and leadership style so that it's effective in their communication so that we can bridge the gap between the Gen Zs and the coaches so that we're not using the same old language. It's just Gen Z, these kids these days. So I built a coaching school model that bridges that and brings everything together so it's clear, concise, and consistent on who we are and our roles. Number one, as coaches, the ownership in which we exhibit, the leadership in which we show, and then how we go about exerting that. How do we get them to trust us? How we get them to understand to follow our authority? What that looks like. And so I go into a deep dive, 2 days a week during February, March, and April to help our coaches understand what those inroads look like into detail.
Well, incredibly important. For the audience, Joe's contact information will be in his bio. So if you want to hear more about this incredible initiative, you can contact him. Yeah, I didn't know. I'm so glad this came up.
I'll be
So
more than happy to share it with you as well.
great, great, amazing. And probably teachers and a lot of people could incredibly benefit from it, right?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Because as I tell my staff every day, we're teachers first. That's what a good coach is. A good coach is a good teacher. And we're teachers first, and we have to be able to articulate and show and model what it is that we're asking our kids to do and become. And that starts with us. If it is to be, it's up to me. And that's with every kid that can hear my voice.
Yeah,
They're a reflection of me, and I'm a reflection of them. And that's the ownership piece.
yeah. And teachers and coaches need this kind of support as well, and training and insights and information, right? We're all human. We all have our,
Absolutely.
yeah, we all need to be educated in these things. Um, have you seen players struggle with self-worth when they're not winning?
Absolutely. And, that's something that, a good coach is a good observant coach. And an observant coach, he understands that in the game of life, it's tied more to than a score on a scoreboard. So when we see our young people struggle with some of those things, we quickly help them understand that, hey, let's just learn the lesson. Okay. And this is not a problem. This is just a situation that we need to view differently. Let's talk about some things we did good. Let's start with that. And then let's go from some things we can do better. And then let's go to building a game plan so it becomes real. And then we begin to exercise a game plan and then it becomes more confident because now I'm preparing myself. Now that preparation breeds confidence. And now I've gotten that kid back on track. What started as a struggle just presented itself as an opportunity, okay, to overcome and to see it differently. And that's the role of a mentor coach, to sit down and take that and to take them from where they are to build that struggle into a opportunity that they can stand on and say, I'm in ownership of this situation. And what I viewed as a struggle is really not a struggle. But man, this is a great lesson that I've learned. And here's how I tend to see it. And here's what I'm going to take away from it. And that's what we teach here at SCANE.
Amazing. I'm learning a lot of valuable lessons through this conversation, so thank you.
This is what it's all about. This is
Yep.
the daily deal for us.
Yep. So now we're going to move into pressure, discipline, and resilience.
Okay.
What does real resilience look like? Like not the Instagram version, but real resilience?
Real resilience comes in when you have to do things that are uncomfortable and the pressures of the outside are on you and looking at you to see how you handle it. Resilience typically comes back down to the foundation of who you are and what you're standing on and what you're built upon. Uh, that's something that our young people really um, are having to learn how to be resilient because resilience requires reinforcement. And that's just in terms of the core inner person that you are. Because when things are going great, it's great. But to be resilient and things are uncomfortable and things aren't going that way, who am I really, and what does that look like? And that's where the internet has really made it tough for our young people to be resilient. Because while they're wanting to say I am this and I can overcome this, they're constantly being reminded because someone has looped them into it. There's all these different trolling groups that will get after these young people and they'll be sending messages and they can't seem to get away from it. I mean, it's from here, it's there, it's bots coming at them from whatever it is, algorithms is coming at them. So the word resilience today takes a new, profound meaning. And our young people are at the forefront of that. And the GZNs are at the forefront of it, and probably more so than me, you, and other adults know because they spend more time
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely.
And there's always constant battles and new battles that they're facing and dealing with in that space. So, we really have to help them understand, number one, who they are at their core. And, it's not always about appeasing the masses. It has to come down to your inner person, you knowing inside who you are, what you stand for, and our why, to who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do, so that we don't feel that need and they can't break our resilience, because we don't feel as though it lines up with where they say we should be or what they think we should be. Because a lot of that's tied to that. It's hard to be resilient if you don't see yourself ever overcoming.
Incredibly important context. We'll definitely put out some clips on that because I think Gen Z are suffering under so many stereotypes. It's
Without question.
Very important words. Um, how do you teach a young person to keep going when they want to quit?
Well, that's a big one. And the first thing I look at them and I look at these young men and I say, hey, if I allow you to quit, I'll allow you to quit on your marriage, you'll quit on your job. Okay. And once you quit one time, it's easy to quit the second time. So we go back to a standard message here. Quitters never win and winners never quit. Okay. So we take that word quit out of the equation. What we like to do is talk about being the one that works harder than anyone. When things are going good, work hard. When things aren't going good, work harder. When things are going bad, work even harder. but hard work pays off. And if you continue to put your head down and you continue to work, you can work yourself through any situation. But it's going to maintain a focus and a steadfastness that you say, I can and I will get through it. And that's where the hard work and the mentality over reality is. And we say that a lot too, because the mentality has to say, I can and I will. Okay. When I say I can and I will, I didn't say I'll try. Okay. I said I can and I will. And that mentality will allow you to overcome anything. And that's something that I tell our student athletes that they own. That's behind their eyes and between their ears. That little box in there. Okay. That box belongs solely to them. They can't measure it. Okay. They can't say it's this or it's that. That's your spot. And so we're going to keep that box, and we know we control that mentality. And our mentality always has to be aligned with PMA, positive mental attitude. We say this every single day. PMA. I'll tell them in a heartbeat. I'll hear somebody, hey, check your PMA. That means check my positive mental attitude. That's that box. That box is labeled PMA. That's where everything comes in and goes out. Okay. And so we're going to feed that box PMA on a daily. So we're going to speak affirmations. We're going to speak positive to ourselves. We're going to speak things into existence that we know it will be, and not what we say we hope to be, but we know it will be. And we want to stand steadfast on that and speak positive energy into ourselves, into our lives, because we understand that everything we're going through is temporarily. It's just a matter of time. It's a small situation. It's not a big problem.
There's a lot I want to dig into with that, but let's stay focused and maybe we can get to it later.
Let's do it.
What's the difference between pushing a young person and breaking them?
Oh man, that's a good one. You always want to push people to become the best version of themselves. You want to help people get uncomfortable, okay? Because a lot of times, if you're comfortable, you're not pushing yourself. So there's a fine line to that. But when you say breaking them, most of the time that comes from not being demanding, but being demeaning, and that's two different things. So we want to push people in a demanding fashion, to demand them to expect more, demand them to challenge themselves to build a stronger personal foundation of dignity in their disciplines. But we don't want to be demeaning and tell them what you're not, or you can't, or the demeaning things. We take that away and we become demanding. And when you can do that, you can push people a lot more, especially if you're pushing with a positive demands by saying things like, hey, I know you're better than that. Okay. Hey, I know you can do this. I've seen you do this before. If you've shown me once, I know you can do it twice. These are types of language kids need to hear when you're pushing them. Okay. I tell my coaches all the time, you have to say 10 positives, okay, for every one negative thing you say to a kid. You gotta tell them. So it has to sink in, soak in, and they gotta believe it. And then before they leave the field, you have to reinforce that again. So we want to push them by being demanding. We want to avoid being demeaning.
Very, very concise and well put.
Thank you.
Yes. How do you handle moments when a player is either emotionally or mentally checked out?
If a player is emotionally, mentally checked out, there are some things that we've already missed, number one. So I think in those moments, it's important to be cool, calm, and collect, and to lead with empathy and concern and love. When players are checked out, there's something that has disconnected them from real time and what's important to the both of you or to them as a whole. So when I see players that present themselves as checked out, the first thing I do is begin to listen, ask meaningful, engaging questions, and I do it in a very subtle tone to where I want them to be able to open up, because my sincerity and understanding what they're going through is at an all-time high, and that's where my focus is at that point. I want them to know that this is a place now where they need to be heard, and I want to hear them, and I'm not giving initially quick answers to them. I'm really being very intentional to what they have to say and making sure that I'm hearing what they're saying correctly, so that I can connect the dots and where they are in real time, so that I can meet them and help them meet their needs in terms of what they're struggling with in the moment.
So that sounds like it goes into the realm of being a therapist. I mean,
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It does. It really does. And part of that, our job is just that. There's a psychological component to everything that we do. And as coaches, we have to be a quick read on that as well. And you have to be able to get them to maybe go from a place where they're down in the dumps to where they understand, hey, the sun is coming out. As a matter of fact, it's coming out right now, and it's coming out because I'm in control of that. And we have those aha moments, and that's probably one of the best things that I've seen in the transformation of some of these players is them being able to get themselves back on track after having some of these one-on-ones with myself in terms of what it is they're dealing with. And then, so those late night texts that said, hey, coach, I love you. Thank you for talking to me today about this. And I really feel as though, today's going to be a great day and I'm going to show you. And so when I get those type of texts, those things make me feel really good. And to for the record, I get those 2-3 times a week. I really do, from current players, former players. I just got one just the other day from a young man who struggled in high school. I was able to help him get to college. He went to college, ended up graduating from a junior college, and is now still positioned trying to find his way. I connected him a few weeks back with an organization that does some work and had some seminars here in the area. And all they had to do was sign up and go sit in the seminar. They're going to give him a brand new tailored suit to go out and go conduct business. And I signed him up for that. And he sent me a real long note and showed me his brand new suit that he had gotten and let me know that he was going to be a man of purpose in his life, and he was going to do some great things in our community. And he wants me to know that he was on track, and he appreciated all the work and all the things I instilled in him and the beliefs. And so those are the type of testimonies that wake me up early morning and get me excited about a new opportunity to impact and elevate a new life.
Yeah, I mean, feeling cared about, right? That there's somebody who just is thinking of you and cares about you goes such a long way for
Yes, ma'am.
people who might not
That's
have
it.
that from anybody else, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's what it's all about. And our young people, they need that. They need the follow up, even after they're gone from our program. I tell them, hey, once you leave, I'm like Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe is always there for you. You call Uncle Joe, the truck will pull up. You tell me where to be, I'll be there to support you for whatever it is, the baby shower, the wedding date. And that's who I really am. I mean, as a matter of fact, to speak to that, I've already hired on this current staff right now 3 kids that I coached in high school. One I recruited out of high school, coached at Kansas State, played in Denver Broncos. I brought him here, helped him get his teaching certificate. He's coaching for me now, and now he's married with kids. I've got a second young man on my staff right now that I'm going to his wedding this week on Thursday. I coached him in high school, sent him to college on a full-ride scholarship. I told him, I said, when you graduate, I'm going to
Yeah.
hire you on my staff. He graduated in May. I hired him in July. He's on my staff now. He's getting ready to become a man and tied a knot with his wife. And I'm so proud of him. And I tell him every day. We're together yesterday, coaching our girls 7-on-7 team. And, just kind of look at the body of work that God's allowed me to be a part of and to see the growth of these young men and how outstanding they're becoming. It does my heart just really good to know that, the work that we're doing on a daily is actually being turned into real lives and transforming boys to men. And it's something that I'm really extremely excited about and glad to be a part of.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, day to day, week to week, year to year, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to move into transformation.
Mhm.
What does transformation actually look like in a young person that you coach?
Transformation is, really the core of what we do as coaches. Typically, when we get a young man that comes to our program, they come to us from a junior high and they've had an eighth grade science teacher teaching them football, and they've had, a math teacher try to teach them how to get out of the blocks in track and field. So, that part of it, that transformation piece, it ties into that and so many other factors. But the first thing we have to do is, see them through those odd years, coming to us at 13, 14 years old, knowing that they're just now getting ready to go through puberty and starting to figure out kind of who they are. That stage is really critical for a coach, and we don't take that lightly. So those transformation years, that looks like us helping them understand who they are as a young man, how they're going to operate, and the expectation that goes with that. Okay, it also teaches them how to be responsible and accountable for themselves and for the things that are being asked of them. It also requires us to begin to, at that point, to help them understand the ownership of discipline, which be the foundation of the man he's going to become. And then also understanding to accept the discipline with dignity. That's a big thing because with young people at that age and transforming them to where they can be successful adults, they need to understand that discipline is good. Okay, and a lot of times your discipline,
Yeah.
it's frowned upon. But
Yeah.
I want to tell you, is dignity in the discipline. Okay, and when I tell you we're demanding and not demeaning, and we're building and we're not breaking down, that's what that looks like. All those things go into how these young people view us, view themselves, and their takeaways in terms of who they can be and who they're gonna be. All stems and ties to the hand-to-hand coaches player relationships that we're teaching our coaches how to manage over the time that we get them from their freshman year to their senior year. That transformation from being a immature young boy to leaving as a mature man that understands who he is, what he's called to become, and how he needs to go about his business, and the discipline that's required in his daily life, his daily walk, the affirmations he needs to speak to himself in each morning, and then being able to go out and deliver the evidence with confidence. That's a transformation piece that we take very seriously when they come to our program. We sit and we put these kids in what we call families in the off season. Each coach will draft a player, and there'll be about 10 to 15 players assigned to two coaches, and that's their family in the offseason. Has nothing to do with the position they play. Wow. It all has to do with who they are. And we do that so that we can start that transformation process every offseason, where now they're being checked on and evaluated every single day, from how they show up to school, if they're tardy or not, what their assignments are, the GPAs for that wow. weekend. How they worked in the weight room. Did they increase it? They decrease it? Were they late? Were they transitioning? Everything they did as a person. We touched base with mom at home. How was he at home? Was he being responsible? Does he does his chores? Does he give you back talk when you ask him to do things? All these things, we make sure we're hitting the total man and the total student athlete, because we understand as a family, that's what it's all about. And we challenge the coaches to do that and to get kids that they don't coach, because we want an authentic connection. And we want, just like any other family, for our family to be the best. And the only way to do that is to operate like it. So when we put them in those families, that's everyone checking everything on a daily, okay, throughout the course of their off season, so that we're making sure we're rising from the bottom to the top. And every coach has a hand in everything they're doing, okay, that makes them who they are. Okay, and at the end of the year, I'll award those coaches with the highest grades. We have a point system, and those players, and we'll do a big pizza party, and we'll highlight those coaches and get the coaches gift cards, because they've demonstrated they're the best family leaders. That's important to me, because as a family, we see all the time what that really stands for is forget about me, I love you more. But if you really forget about me and you love me more, then it needs to be able to show, and I need to be able to see what that looks like. And we've created a chart and a panel which we go over in our monthly and weekly meetings, that speaks to every kid in our program and how we're touching them in every facet of their life.
Wow. With, in this world where people just think people are awful, there's so much awful behavior. This is incredibly inspiring and incredibly important that you're talking about all these people who are giving their all to yes. improve other people's lives. And it's so important for people to know there are people out here doing that.
Well, there really is. These coaches are special, and I take my hat off to our coaching staff. I tell the families all the time, I expect a lot of our coaches, because for me, I'm the official teammate of today's student athlete. I own that trademark since 2006. And so if you're a coach on my staff, you're going to be kid-centered first. You're going to lead with love. You're going to model respect. And you're going to always look to sell hope every day. You're going to be a reflection of me, and I'm going to be a reflection of them. And what that looks like is we're in the kid business. And so that's very demanding in that stance, because our coaches are called to be here early in the morning and office stays late in the evening until we get things taken care of, because the kids are our center priority.
Well, this was training, and coach training was mandatory in every school, high school, that we'd have a different world, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe that. I truly do. Because even with coaches, coaches are former players. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they were always taught properly either.
Of course.
Okay. And leadership is like biology.
Absolutely not. I've heard a lot of really pretty brutal stories. Yeah.
Yeah. There's levels to coaching, and it starts at the top with the leadership. And we can start there and teach every day, and help ourselves better understand, maybe why some of the kids are having some of the challenges they're having, and maybe we're the cause to some of it. So we need to be able to look in the mirror and get those things addressed so that we can be better for our kids. And the only way to do that is to sit down in those peer group settings, collaborate, and go through what that looks like and learn from each other.
Learn from each other. We need to do a lot more of that in positive ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. So when do you know you've really reached a young person?
Well, I think, that begins to manifest itself over time, and you'll begin to see things like the accountability. When you're no longer having to repeat the same things and say the same things to the same young men, then you know that you're having success, and you know that some of the things you've said have actually had a chance to sink in, soak in, because now they're operating in a manner and they're holding themselves accountable to the standards and they're meeting the expectations. I think those are all benchmarks that allow us to know that we've done some good things, and it's beginning to manifest itself into the type of young people that we're looking to build.
So we're going to move now to identity and life beyond the game.
Mhm.
Um, so what conversations do you have with your players about identity beyond sports? You've touched on it a bit, but because you're able to take these questions and put so much depth into them, I'd love you to expand on it.
Okay, so that's a really important question. Number one, I think that as a player, your identity during your playing days, they almost gets lost because they get bundled into one. And I think for a high school student athlete, it's really careful, and even a college athlete, it's really important to own it, understand it, but yet still be able to take that hat off. Okay, um, because once football is over, it's time for them to then talk about the man behind the helmet. And so many of our kids, because they feel as though the fans only want to talk to the person they see in the jersey or in the helmet and the good things they do, they discredit their own identity and who they are, okay, and what they bring to the table in a value standpoint outside of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that we take very seriously. And so I'm always simultaneously building up the player and building up the person. And I'm constantly talking to them about, hey, this is not a forever game. This is just a bridge, and football is a vehicle to get us to where we're going to go. We're just using this temporarily to get to the ultimate game of life. This is what we're using in football to take us here. Remember the 95%? This is just the 5%. We have to make sure that we don't put all our eggs in this one basket that says that I'm only Joe Gordon because I'm a first team all conference player and I'm, the team captain and see, those things only matter in a small window of time. The identity piece lives beyond that. So what we want our young student athletes to take away and simultaneously build is while I'm enjoying playing this game and I have a role and my role is tied to my 111th. There are 11 players on the field. I have a 111th to do on every single day. I want to tie that in and I want to be the best at it. Outside of that, I'm in control of the 111th. I'm in control of that. Okay. That is me. I'm the entity. Now I'm a business model that I understand that I'm conducting, and I have an expansion phase and an exit strategy that's going to take me from being the player to the player coach or to the coach or to the leader in my community or to the executive. And that's when we get to talk about football and how football shapes you for the game of life. If I can be a team captain, that means I can be a supervisor. Okay, if I can think and get voted by my colleagues to be a player representative, I can some type of way go on to be on a board. Okay, the things that we do in football tie them to life, but in a different perspective that gets them ready to go play the game of life. So everything we talk about in football that makes them who they are as a player, I try to simultaneously build up to tell them who they're going to be in the business world, being that leader, being that CEO, being the one that's in charge. So everything speaks in ladders and scales to where we're going in life. And I tell them all the time, you'll look back and you'll be grateful that you're a part of this football organization and this family because it truly is going to give you an insight on where you're going to be and how you're going to be able to play your hand in the game of life.
So many people throughout life just are focused on their title and not
Yeah,
on any inner qualities, not on their integrity, not on that, which is why
right.
the world's in the shape it's in. So, it's even more valuable in the social media generation, what you're giving to
Yes,
these people who will be our future leaders. Yeah, a-
absolutely. Absolutely.
absolutely. Um, okay, so we're going to move on now to what young people need to hear.
That's
If
good.
one of your players is struggling silently, what would you want them to know?
Um, First thing I'm letting them know is you're not alone. Okay. You're not alone and you're more than your performance. Um, and that's the first thing I'm letting them know. And I'm gonna let them know that because typically, if they're struggling, it's probably tied to their performance of some sort or something that
Mm,
they're feeling less than. So the
Yeah.
first thing I'm going to do is go in and build up who they are as a person. I'm going to tell them their value that they are to me and their value that they are to their family. I'm going to remind them of what they're going to do and how the things in the universe are aligned for them will be so much greater than this next year or two or where we have left time in this school. I'm going to remind them back to the big picture. We're not going to get caught and get our heads in the weeds. We're going to talk about where we're going and how this is going to allow us to grow from it. We're going to speak those types of conversations into existence so that these young people can really see not only what they're going through is minimized, but they can see the big picture of kind of where they are and how it's going to apply later in life for them.
Incredibly valuable. I wish people had done that for me when I was in high school.
I think we could all look back and say we wish we had some of that stuff, but you know what? Now's a great time, and what you're doing now is going to provide some people to sit here and think about where they are and how maybe they've approached the situation, and hopefully we can help get them on the right track.
I'm very certain of that. Anybody listening to this podcast, I'm sure, is being inspired and motivated in all kinds of ways, right? Coming from all
Correct.
different places. So Joe, what do you say to a young person who doesn't believe in themselves?
Yeah, so the first thing that I'm going to do with a young person that believes in themselves is I'm going to sit down and drill a little deeper, because if they don't believe in themselves, number one, it speaks to confidence. And I'm a firm believer that preparation breeds confidence. And so with that individual at its foremost foundation point, I'm going to make sure that they understand that number one, they can and become anything that they aspire to become. And I'm going to help them by showing them ways to talk positive uh, scripts to themselves, such as, if they say that, if it's performance based, I'm going to say, hey, tell yourself I can and I will. Or I'm going to say, look in the mirror 10 times and tell yourself I am the best. The first thing I'm going to do is get them to believe. Okay. Uh, People believe things that they develop a self script that's internally, intrinsically, manifested through their words and their mouth. I tell people all the time, your thoughts become your actions become your character and a reflection of who you are from inside out. So what first we got to do is we got to change that tone. Okay. They have to tell themselves that I am or I can. And I'm going to find that one thing about them that I know to be true. And I'm going to have them repeat it about themselves. Okay, I'm going to have them say, hey, this is what you are, and this is what I know. And the first thing is just to build on that foundation of who they are and begin to get them to talk about the positivity things. That PMA box we talked about, positive mental attitude, it all generates right there. Okay, because I can't feel bad about myself if I'm positive. All right. So what are we really telling ourselves, and what is it that's caused us to feel this way? I'm going to be an intense listener. I'm going to dig a little deep. And then I'm going to help them together. We're going to build a bridge to get them out of where they are. And then I'm going to show them realistically how we can turn that shaky confidence that makes them feel less than into a powerful being of who they are and where they're going. And we're going to do that by formulating a step-by-step process in which we can articulate what this looks like, and then we can assess it as we move along, and they can believe it, and then they can achieve it. And now that young individual is not just saying what they can't be or who they're not, or feeling though they're down here. They're saying, hey, this is who I am. I've addressed this, but this is where I'm going, and this is how I'm going to get there. And now we've got preparation, which leads to confidence. And I'm a firm believer in your preparation does turn to confidence. And that starts with the inner man, preparing myself, how I think, how I operate. Okay. It's us before anything else. But sometimes you need someone to see something in you and tell you there's something in you greater than what you can see. And I think that's the big role of the coach, to help them see far beyond where they are today, so they can go on and be great leaders in their communities, great fathers, and great men as a whole out in the world. But that starts with me helping them identify that they're more than what they see themselves in that very moment, and tell them how we're going to get there, most importantly.
So do you have student athletes whose families might be telling them they're not worth much? Who's
We see it from time to time with some of the families who are new to football, first generation. Some of the families that didn't grow up with the Americanized football culture. They don't see quite the value in playing this game sometimes, and it's all academic based. But once we help them understand how this ties to life, and it's a building block that helps them prepare for where they're headed. Those same families, and I've got real stories right now. Young man, just this summer, I helped sign over a six-figure contract. I picked him up every day in high school because his parents didn't believe in football. And I kept telling him he's going to be good. I'm going to get him to send him to college. Someone's going to pay for it. And they never really resonated, but I stayed with the kid. Sure enough, he went and became three-time all district performance. He led their league. And this summer, I said, "Hey man, come home and work out." He said, "Coach, I got to stay and take these classes, and then I think I'm gonna transfer." I said, "Why is that?" And so we kind of had a discussion. I said, "Well, let me make a couple calls." Lo and behold, that same young man who, from high school to even now in college, they didn't believe in the football. Football is now making more money as a student this year than both of his parents combined. So that is, some of the stories that I really love the most. And, I think those are things that God has put me back here in Texas in this seat to help, find those types of families and young men and make some real differences in their life.
Does his family believe in him now?
Absolutely. He's getting his master's paid for, and he's making high six figures. I mean, what more can you ask? And he's playing a game he
Well,
loves, right?
sometimes people have a mindset and there's nothing a person can do to change that, right?
No, you're exactly right. And that's why you need these success stories. And this is real time. And so they've seen this. And so now it's not if, it's like, man, this is happening.
So what about people who don't believe themselves because not just around football, but because there some family dynamics might be very destructive or difficult or abuse or whatever. How do you handle that?
I think once again, those types of individuals, it requires a little more time. And if it's not tied to sport, you don't have necessarily have something that they want or need to tie them to. So I think at that point, you just look to be a great sounding board, and you have to leave a lot of empathy, just so you can develop the trust that they'll allow you to help them navigate where they are. For me, I'm big on just being a true listener and trying to really provide comfort. And then if I can get them to hang their hat on some of the comfort providing, then I'll try to pull them along with me to kind of get them to be more cautiously optimistic about what they can become and what they can do. And with those, it's not an overnight deal. It's not a one sit down session, but it's a
Of
series of
course.
follow-ups, collaborations, connections, touch points. It's something that with those types of individuals, it's going to be more routine and programming in their thought patterns, and more than anything else, because it's something they've been told or something they've heard repeatedly that has caused them to think or see it a certain way. And so we have to go in and be very intentional and undoing some of those things. And once again, that's an individual that's going to need a multitude of positive reinforcement about maybe what they've experienced or where they are, and kind of get them on a track of what you see in them and what they can become. And that's when the power of influence from my standpoint really becomes a tool that I exercise when I run across people and individuals like that. But more importantly, in those type of individuals also they need more of the kinetic energy as well.
Yeah. What do you mean
They
by that? What do you mean by the kinetic energy?
they're going to need more of me touching you and high fiving you, me saying, "Hey, give me a hug. Hey, you know what? Let's do this together. Hey, let's go attack this together." Because they've been told what they're not so much, they don't believe that they can by alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to look those people in the eyes. I want to say, "Hey, Leslie," I want to look you in the eyes and say, "Come here, give me a hug. You're great. Today's going to be a great day. Okay. We're going to accomplish everything we say we're going to accomplish today. And you know what? Nothing's going to stop us. Today is our day. We can and we will. Okay. Against all odds." Now, listen to me, Leslie. That doesn't mean that this won't happen or that won't happen. What that means is we're not going to be shocked and we're not going to be shaking in our boots. We're moving this way today. Our PMA has told us today is going to be a great day and the altitude is high. So we're going right there. So get ready. Okay. And I'm gonna connect with her on that, and we're gonna look forward to what we have going today. And we're gonna meet at this time, and we're gonna boom, boom, and we're gonna dominate. We're gonna attack our day, and then we're gonna have some of those repeated check-ins, so that it's not just a high or a low, and it's not here or there, and it's gotta be something that that individual that you're connecting with believes it makes what you guys have authentic, transferable, and real, and then they believe to themselves they can transfer that same type of energy, and then before you know it, they're helping build and fix other people while they're fixing themselves.
Right. Of course. Of course. Of course. Big ripples. I'm seeing waves and waves, not just ripples.
Go,
It's
go.
the wave effect, not the ripple effect.
Right. Right. And I'm in the business of transferring positive energy. I got a lot of it. So If
You
you need
sure
somebody
do.
with a high five or a hug, you let me know.
Okay, I'll let you know.
That's right.
You've convinced me.
I'm all about that life. I'm about that life. I am.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the bigger picture.
Okay.
When your players leave your program, what do you hope stays with them for the rest of their lives?
I hope they'll take with them the things in which we built into them. Number one, a selfishness mindset. It's not about me, it's bigger than me mindset. Hope they'll take away the concept of what a family is, being a man, being the leader, and taking ownership and decisions and the goods and the things that weren't so good that you can find ways to do better. I hope they'll take away the disciplines and understanding how to approach the game of life as a process. I hope they'll understand that the things we taught them in terms of where to be, what to do, and how to do it establishes a core, congruent, a bit of accountability in them that allows employers and the people outside in the real world to want to attract into their firms or businesses to lead. I hope that they'll walk away with a sense of organization and preparation that will lead them to being confident in anything that they'll become to go do in life. I hope that they'll walk away with a sense of understanding that if it is to be, it's up to me, which means there are no excuses in life, and I don't use excuses as a crippling disease. If it is to be, it's up to me. I hope they'll leave that mindset that we instill in them every single day so they can go on. And then if we can do that, and if we get those things right, then it's my belief that they can go on from there and they can be great leaders in their families. They can go be great leaders and be on that city council or that mayor in their communities. Okay, they can go on and be, those great ambassadors that lead the free world in which we know it today.
And I'm sure many of them will. So I'm gonna end with a question that it's a little abstract, so
Right?
work with me. So there's a lot of trauma in the world now, and
Mhm.
especially a lot of young people are coming up with a lot of trauma.
Yes.
How do you contain that and transform that into a positive mental attitude when that's enveloping so much of a person's psyche?
Yeah, I think the first thing we need to do is, help them understand that it's just a situation, it's not a problem. I think a lot of times we go through things and we allow our mentality to be one that says this is an enormous problem. And when the moment you accept it to be that what it is, it leads to other health issues like depression. First thing we want to do is diffuse that thought process. And we want them to know that this is a small situation. This is a moment in time. Okay. It's not who we are. It doesn't validate or provide credentials to where we're going in life. This is something that we're going to overcome. And it's not if, but it's when. So it becomes a mentality once again. Okay. And we like to say this mentality over reality. Okay. The reality is it's hot outside. Things are not going my way. The mentality is I can and I will, and I'll get through this. So, the first thing we have to understand is that it's not the end of it. And so they don't have to feel as though they're at the end of the ropes and it's time to give up or quit or abort anything. We want them to know that the values and the things that we've instilled in them in life, they can stand on it. If they'll stand on those things we've instilled in them, they're going to have success. They're going to have an opportunity. There's going to be a beacon of light. Okay. Everything that they've been taught through the game of life and through football, preparing them for life, should provide them the opportunity to say, hey, there is hope. And as long as I keep my hope, I can and I will. If I lead with love, love never fails. And so I'm not a failure regardless where I am in my situation. And it's just a situation. It's not a magnifying problem. So those are some of the first things that we're going to address is really just how we talk to ourselves. And, I'm a big believer in, in that alone. The first thing I may ask a young person is, okay, this is how you stated how you feel. Now let's readdress that now. Share that with me in a different way. Okay, because I need them to understand what they're saying has power and has oversight on their lives. And so I'm going to first do is get them to challenge themselves to speak differently to themselves about where they are and what they're going through. That's to begin with. And then we're always going to have a positive outlook because that's my PMA, my positive mental attitude. And then last but not least, in everything we do in life and everything they're going to go through, it comes down to this: mentality over the reality. I can and I will overcome. Mentality over the reality. There's going to be realities every day in life that don't always go our way or don't set the stage for something we like it to be. The mentality, though, never changes. I'm going to find my PMA. There's a silver lining, and I can and I will overcome it.
Well, I hope
Well,
everybody takes those words in because trauma is very, it just can be in your whole body and mind. And it's
everything.
so important to have that message as
You're
a constant in the mix, right?
Self-talk is everything. Self-talk, self-scripts. When I get with people and those are the challenges, if it's more on the trauma mental side, I'm going to create a daily script for that individual based on where they are. I'm going to create a daily script and I'm going to ask them to say that script themselves. Because what you tell yourself is what you believe is what you become.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do, for all the incredible motivation and inspiration and information that you've shared from such a depth of caring and of love. And um, I'm so honored to have this opportunity. So don't leave yet.
That is great. Thank you. This has been amazing, by the way. This has been amazing. Thank you very much. Pretty
Absolutely. So again, everybody listening, Joe's contact information will be in the bio, linked in the bio. And so whatever you share with me, people, it's okay for people to reach out to you.
yes, absolutely. We love it. Welcome it.
Wonderful. So everybody, thank you for being part of this conversation because what we're building here is more than a podcast, is a space to be seen, to be heard, and to remember none of us are meant to carry this alone. I think that was very, very clear in
Correct.
this conversation. So wherever you are, take a moment to check in with yourself, with someone who may need it, start a conversation, create a moment of real connection. And if you're ready to go deeper, I invite you to visit playtohealhub.com, playtohealhub.com, where you can access our free dialogue games designed to help you to connect, reflect, and heal with friends, with family, or even people you're just getting to know. Because healing doesn't happen in isolation, it happens together, and still we heal. And I just want to quickly show you beyond the game.
Yes.
I got to meet Joe at the Super Bowl week in San Francisco, rolling
Yes.
out my Beyond the Game mental health game for athletes, coaches, and teams. And you can find it for free digitally. I like it better physically, but you can find it digitally for free at beyondthegame.team. Beyondthegame.team. Please engage. Please help people have these conversations that's so needed. We're living in such difficult times, and so many people have such difficult circumstances. So please, as Joe said, always lead with love, bring
Yes.
love, share love. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, really.
It's been awesome. It's also been a fantastic opportunity to just learn from you as well. And we are excited about Beyond the Game that you've shared with us, our staff. We'll get this summertime going and we're going to sit down and make sure that everyone is abreast of what this game can do and the impacts it can have. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will talk soon.
Yes, we will.